So, what we're going to talk about today is probably going to change a little bit of how you look at yourself, your own thoughts, your choices, the decisions that you make. This is not some matrix red pill moment. Everything that I'm saying is publicly available information. But somehow I've realized that all of us haven't really connected the dots. And I think we really should because that might just help us have a better understanding of ourselves. So, folks, I wanted to give you a quick perspective why I'm shifting the Utkarsh Mohan podcast to the Ministry of Guitar YouTube. Originally, it was on a different YouTube channel, but after some thought, I think it's best for me to consolidate all of what I'm doing under one YouTube. And Ministry of Guitar is by far the larger YouTube channel. Ministry of Guitar will continue as usual, but this weekly podcast will come on top. All right, back to the podcast. So, hi everyone, welcome back to the Utkarsh Mohan podcast. Thank you all for joining as you have, and thank you for those of you who jumped over from the Ministry of Guitar. I really, really appreciate it. So, what I want to talk about today is, or rather, let me start somewhere which may seem a little bit arbitrary, but it's going to lead back, segue exactly to what we started this with. Have you ever wondered why the new tech companies of the 2000s, why they're so massive, why they're the largest companies in the world? What are those fortunes built on, given that they don't charge anything to their customers usually? Of course, now they charge stuff for, like, say, Google Drive or something. The reality is that all of these tech companies, their fortunes, their valuations, and indeed their very, very real cash flow and profit, it's built on advertising. So just take Google, for example. I think Google's advertising revenue, or rather Alphabet's advertising revenue, Alphabet is, of course, Google, YouTube, the parent company. Their advertising revenue was about, I think, $65 billion. I think Meta, which is Facebook, Instagram, was about $35 billion. And the entire size of the total advertising industry is about $650 billion, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put up the numbers here so we can have it exactly. Now, what's going on here, right? So people are spending $650 billion. I think the US, the spend is about $350 per year per customer. They're spending more than $1 per day on advertising to people. So what I'm trying to say is this is a very, very real spend. Companies are spending money behind advertising. And then the question it begs to the question that comes up is, why are they spending so much money? Right? And it's not there are fools sitting and spending advertising money. There are real executives in very real industries going and spending advertising money. Right? I did that, right? I worked for 15 years in the world's top advertiser, actually, Procter & Gamble. And I also spent that money. And there was a very, very good reason why. The reason is advertising works, marketing works. What does that mean? It means that through creating a message and making sure that it reaches enough people, you are able to alter human behavior. And who are these humans whose behaviors are getting altered? It's people like you and me. All of us have this kind of notion that I am the master of my own destiny. Everybody else is a fool. Everybody else is susceptible to propaganda. Everybody else is susceptible to messaging. But not me. I am smart. But reality is that if everybody was like that, there is no reason for the advertising industry to exist, for marketing to exist. It exists because no matter how smart you are, no matter how amazing you are, or whatever you think of yourself, you and I and everybody you know and everybody I know are, at the end of the day, humans who are susceptible to messaging and advertising. This is the main important point to know. So never think that you and I are not being influenced by messaging that is being crafted for us and being made sure to reach out to us through different means. It's just a fact of life. The very fact that the advertising industry is so large is proof that it works. It works. And by the way, just to get into very, very personal anecdotes, in my own career, as I just talked about, it was very clear. You could see the impact of advertising. Suppose we have a product launch or there's a business that is getting neglected and we then re-inject advertising. You can very, very clearly see an impact. I mean, it's a little bit more complex because it's not a very, what should I say? It's not like you advertise on day one and immediately you see the uplift. You see a lot of complexities going on, but when you model it out and you see it, it is very, very clear uh, beyond any reasonable doubt, to a scientific certainty that advertising and media works. It has been well modeled out. It is 100% true. So what I'm saying is, this is not an opinion of an ex-marketer saying that, oh, because I worked in marketing, I think the marketing industry works. The very fact that it has been scientifically modeled and verified, and more importantly, it has been verified through the forces of the market, which is that the industry is that large and companies continue to invest in advertising, shows you that it works. And that means that you and I and other human beings are being influenced to alter our behavior through advertising. Now, the purpose of this particular podcast episode is simple. I want to give you the insight into the mind of the person who is trying to alter your mind, which is to say, what are the methods, what are the techniques, what are the potential ways in which advertisers, or it's not just advertisers, anybody who's trying to alter your behavior, whether it is one of the political parties in the US right now who want you to vote for a certain candidate, whether it is somebody who wants you to buy their $3,000, I don't know, $3,000 bag or something, or whatever else it might be. I want to give you insight into what are these techniques that are being used to alter your behavior so that you can recognize it. Now, you can also recognize that even if you're aware of something doesn't mean that things will change. A good example that I can often think of is, I am very, very fond of cars, petrol, that whole old school petrol head is what I am. I'm very fond of a brand like, say, BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Now I know, of course, the ultimate driving machine was a marketing campaign. It was a very deliberate marketing strategy from BMW over the 80s and 90s to evoke the sense, the romance of driving. But it worked. And even though I know it was a marketing campaign, I still have a certain equity of BMW in my brain that I cannot let go of. It's just become part of me. It's not like you prick this balloon and it goes away. So you can fully recognize the techniques that are being used on you, and still have certain feelings, still have certain remnants because of those techniques, and that's okay. This is not trying to break you out of capitalism and turn you into some dancing hippie who has no sense of the real world. This is just for you to get a better understanding of the real world. And that is what I attempt to do, at least in this podcast. I mean, I have been fortunate to have had some exposures. And I think my exposure to the marketing world is a particularly fortunate one, because a lot of what we see in the modern economy and what dominates our attention, and particularly in the internet age where it's really been all about connecting and making it easier to market and sell to people. Marketing is the forefront industry, honestly, of the era that we live in today. So without further ado, let's get into what are these techniques. The first thing that you have to know is, there is a very, very simple way to think of how you can be influenced to create a behavior. There are only 3 ways in which you can be influenced to change your behavior. Or rather, only 3 things need to be true for you to change your behavior. So let's work out with a very, very simple analogy. Say, I'm trying to see if there's something in front of me. Say there is something, say there is a bottled water. This is a normal water, but bottled water company who wants you to buy them, right? So I'm just taking that as a product so that you can visualize it, but this analogy will apply to everything. Or what needs to be true? The first thing that needs to be true is that you need to be aware of it. Say the bottled water brand is, I don't know, whatever that Swiss brand is, Evian or whatever. You need to be aware of the brand. That's the starting point, awareness. If you're not aware of it, how can you buy something? How can you do something if you're not aware of it? Suppose they want you to vote for Trump. The first thing you need to know is, who is Trump, as an example. Let's go with politics. I think it's more interesting than, than bottled water. So the first thing you need to know about is, you need to be aware of him. And if you look at Trump, actually, it's very interesting because he's been building his awareness not just today and tomorrow and yesterday. He's been building it since the 80s, right? So one big reason why this relative outsider was able to make it, in 2016, and get the level of, basically make it to the White House, is that he had incredible levels of awareness to begin with. So, awareness is probably the part that a lot of us underestimate. A lot of us may look at an ad and be like, what the hell was that ad? But sometimes we may just remember the company that the ad was from. And what we don't realize is that even if the ad has just made you remember the name of the company or remember the name of the product, the ad has already succeeded to a great extent. When we evaluate an ad, as I did in my previous job, we look at two metrics. Does it drive awareness? And then does it drive persuasion? Awareness, do people remember what the ad was for, who it was for? And you'll be surprised how difficult that is, because sometimes people misattribute it. You may make a Toyota ad, they may think it's Subaru, making it up. It's very common. So just if an ad is able to just make you remember, or rather if you saw an ad and you remember the ad and you remember rather what the ad was for, and because of that you remember the company or the brand, that is immense success. That is what people outside the marketing industry don't realize, that just by knowing something, you're giving a lot of power. Just by giving something space in your head, you're giving it a lot of power, because then familiarity opens the door to many other things. So awareness is the first thing. The second thing that needs to be true is what I refer to, persuasion, or let's just say appeal. We call it the 3 A's in the marketing industry. So appeal. You should want to buy it, right? You should want to do it. You may be aware of Trump, but you should want to vote for him. You should be, persuaded by him, so on. This part, all of us understand. And this is the part of marketing that we all focus on. That yes, I saw that ad, but it didn't persuade me. I know of Trump, but I won't vote for him. I know of Kamala, I won't vote for her, whatever it might be, right? So, persuasion is something it's very easy for us to understand. Do you want something? Do you want to do something? Very easy to understand. The third one is availability. Availability is, say you like a product, you want to buy it, but is it available for you to buy? I remember the thing that I'm using for filming here. It's called the Osmo DJI Pocket 3 or something. It's the camera that I'm using for filming this. I was aware of it. I was heavily persuaded because it had great reviews, but I couldn't get it anywhere. I literally went over 10 stores in Singapore. At that time, it was sold out. Now these are available. And I somehow found it. So as much as I liked it and I really wanted it, I couldn't get it unless it was available. And sometimes these three things kind of blend into each other, because sometimes you may just buy something because you spot it in the store. In which case, because you spotted it, it's available. But that availability of it led to its awareness. And maybe because you like the packaging, it led to appeal. So even though you did not begin your journey being aware of something, say, just take an example of going to a store and picking up a new snack or something new that you don't see. Or just shopping in general, right? Buying new clothes sometimes. Or just window shopping, spotting something. Availability has led to awareness and appeal, where you just spot it, hence you look at it, you become aware of it, and when you look at it, maybe there's something about it that appeals to you. So these are the three things to be aware of, right? So what is my takeaway that you should have is, the next time you're making a decision or buying something or doing something, no pun intended, just be aware that just being aware of it is influencing how you think of something. In neuroscience and in evolutionary biology, there is a very good understanding of how humans tend to, and I'm going on the point of awareness here, how humans tend to go for the safe choice. I mean, safety in numbers, safety in going for what is big and popular has been a huge part of human survival, right? If you were having a war between two tribes during the prehistoric era, then to go with the bigger and more popular tribe, higher chances you will survive. So this attraction that we have to what is big and popular, what appears to be the choice of more people, is tremendous. I talked about this in the previous video of mine, where the Kamala Harris election campaign has literally been all about projecting her as big and popular, regardless of whether she is or not. But sometimes it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You make something look big and popular enough, it becomes big and popular, right? That's a key marketing trick that a lot of marketers know. That's what we do for all of our new launches. And a big part of becoming big and popular is everybody knows about it. Think of there's a singer. How do you know if a singer is big or popular? How do you know that Taylor Swift is a household name? Because she is a household name, which means everybody knows about her. You talk to your mother, you talk to your friend, they know who Taylor Swift is. It's awareness. Being big and popular which means being the right choice. It's all going down to awareness. So if there's one takeaway I want you to take away beyond the fact that know that you are most definitely getting influenced by marketing, it is note how important awareness is and how powerful awareness is as a tool when it comes to marketing. Marketing is not only about persuasion, or rather, changing your behavior is not only about convincing you. Changing your behavior is also about just making you aware of something, right? Just because you're aware of me, for example, because you're following me on YouTube or whatever it might be, it means that you're more likely to listen to what I'm saying. That's it. If you didn't know who I was, if I was an unknown, you would not listen to what I'm saying. It's just awareness. You're aware of me. That's why a lot of YouTubers that you might see, especially the big ones, their thumbnails have their face front and center. Because that awareness, that familiarity is what leads to the behavior that they desire that you click on their video. Okay, so we spent a good amount of time on this awareness bit. What else do I want you to think about? I want you to think about the second part of marketing, which is the persuasion, but I want to talk about how persuasion really works. And again, we have a classic, there's a classic technique that we use in marketing where we try to figure out how to induce human behavior. And ultimately, it boils down to changing someone's perception or changing someone's belief. And it may or may not be something to do with the product, right? It is all about correctly recognizing what is the reason somebody is not doing a behavior. We call this a trial barrier. What is the reason somebody is not doing it? Which means what is the belief that they have that leads them to not do this? And hence, what is that belief that we need to change? And the belief could be to do with the product, but it could be beyond that as well. I like the best example that I have ever been taught and that I have seen is the entire anti-smoking brigade, right? The entire anti-smoking successful result of anti-smoking over the last whatever 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever the period might be. There were two parts to it, right? If you think about it, the first part of anti-smoking was, hey, cigarettes are bad for you. A lot of people got to know it. Initially, everybody said cigarettes were good. Doctors used to smoke, but then later they said cigarettes are bad for you. It worked, but a lot of people continue to smoke. Why did they continue to smoke? Because hell, so many things are bad for me. I probably shouldn't be eating that ice cream. I probably shouldn't be gambling. I probably shouldn't be doing this or that. But I still do it. It's like people still drive dangerously sometimes, even though the consequences can be pretty poor, or people don't wear seatbelts in the back seat. Seatbelts in the back seat is a different thing altogether that I will get back to in a different video. It's a pet peeve of mine. In any case, people continue to smoke even though smoking was bad for you. So the challenge over here is what people are believing is, hey, I know smoking is bad for me, but it's my life, it's my choice. I'll do what I want to do. It's my damn life. The message that was then addressed at this, so the trial barriers to the desired behaviors, I want people to stop smoking. But they continue to smoke, and the reason for that is, it's my choice. It may be my own choice, but it's my choice. I'm not affecting anyone. Note this particular bit. Of course, the lever that then was recognized is that there is an impact of smoking not only on yourself, but secondhand smoke to people around you. And then what happens is suddenly the thing is, today your belief system is smoking only affects me, it's my choice, it changes to smoking, doesn't only affect me, it affects people around me. Hence, it is no longer only my choice, I am now affecting other people's lives. So from affecting my life to affecting other people's life. That's it. That was the belief change. Today I believe smoking only affects me. Tomorrow I believe my smoking affects other people. That was the insight that was recognized, that was realized by the anti-smoking lobbies or whoever it might be. And that was what was actioned. So then smoking became all about, you can't, first thing that happened is it appeals to the smoker themselves. Hey, you are affecting other people. Second, that smoke can affect pregnant women or whatever and can cause blah, blah, blah. Second part of it was people who are non-smokers are like, oh my God, these smokers are affecting us. Let's lobby to what the hell to stop this, right? And the end consequence of it is that just by changing one simple belief, and I know this sounds so simple when I explain it to you, but reality is that most marketing behavior changes just boil down to changing something very simple, a very simplistic belief. So just by changing the belief, smoking only affects me, my smoking only affects me, to my smoking affects other people. That was a pretty much a death knell. I mean, the smoking industry still exists, but compared to its heyday and compared to what it was a death knell, right? And that worked. A simple, just changing the belief from affects me to affects me and other people. Very simplistic example, but that's how it works. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever you are seeing any significant belief change in yourself, try to understand why that belief change is happening. Try to understand whether there are external forces at play that are affecting that belief change. I'm not saying that belief change could be the worst, for the worse. It could probably be for a good reason. And you have to be very, very aware of, if you are feeling a belief change, you have to be aware of the messenger and what the priorities of the messenger are. A good example for me is the Game Changers documentary. A good example, you'll see the belief change. You watch Game Changers, you watch You Are What You Eat, for example. You will feel, as you're watching it, you will feel your belief system changing. Doesn't matter if you're the most hardened carnivore out there. It is incredibly well crafted. It's an incredible piece of storytelling. But then you have to see, okay, my belief system is getting changed. You have to see who is the messenger. By the way, I'm not advocating for veganism or against veganism. I'm just citing that as that was one great example of relatively propagandist entertainment that I could think of, right? So then you look at, okay, who are the people who have produced this? What are the interests behind it? And then you try to understand. Oh, because marketing is not always, if you tell somebody, hey, you're not supposed to eat meat, they'll say, no, who are you? Screw you. I'm going to do what I want. But if you understand what is the insight, and this is very similar to the smoking insight, right? Which is where, hey, today I eat meat. Meat is my choice. I think I like the taste of it. It keeps me healthy. To tomorrow, oh, meat is not healthy for you. Or tomorrow, oh, meat is actually affecting all these other people. It's very similar to that anti-smoking insight that we thought of earlier. So it's a very, very deliberately crafted message, well thought through. People are paid, in my industry, the trick wasn't making the snazziest production or the most fancy looking ad. The toughest part of making an ad was the beginning, which is uncovering the insight, uncovering what is the belief that people have today that I need to change in order to get them to buy my product, and then convincing everybody else in my organization that that is the correct insight, because it's so difficult to get the right insight sometimes. The thing with an insight is, once you get it, it sounds so dead simple, but till you get it, it's like hidden. It's like a little piece of gold hidden inside a big rock of information. So the most difficult part is getting the right insight and fixing on the right belief change that you need to induce in your customers. And that's the point, belief change. You have to really recognize that whatever messaging that you are seeing, all the media that you're consuming, and even opinions that you may hear from other people, they are all tinged by the belief change, by the immense amount of dollars, $650 billion worth of them, right, spent on trying to change your beliefs. The whole world economy is running on an industry whose job is to change the way you think. This is a fact. This is not a conspiratorial thing. This is literally the definition of advertising, of communication, right? So recognize that. And I think the reason it is even more important to recognize this today is because if previously the way to market to you was very limited, maybe there was an ad they could show you between your favorite show, or maybe there was a radio ad that you could listen to on your way to work while driving, or maybe there was a billboard. So there were very limited ways for people to affect the way you think, right? It was that's it. TV ad, radio ad, maybe something in the newspaper, and maybe something outdoor like a billboard. That was it. And maybe you might see advertising, or you might see people trying to change your behavior. You may see it maybe for a few minutes in a day, maybe for half an hour at the most. Now, because of your phone, and I try to find my phone, I can't find it, you are exposed constantly to people trying to change your behavior. Whether you open social media, whether you follow your favorite YouTuber or whatever else that you might be doing, because of in the internet and connectivity and the smartphone, the computer, the hypercomputer in your hand, every moment of your life, whether you're on the toilet, whether you're just sitting and scrolling for just for fun, maybe you're literally watching the news. The news becoming propagandized is a different topic we'll get into at a different time. Every moment of your connected life, you are being exposed to a message that is trying to change your belief system and the way you think. If you think you're too smart for it, I have to regretfully tell you, you are not, nor am I. I'm also affected by it. The only difference between for me over right now is that because I was part of that particular industry, I have a very, very deep understanding of how the sausage is made, for lack of a better analogy. And my intent with this podcast today is not to scare you or not to say you have to change the way you live, but it's just to give you a better sense of awareness based on the experiences that I've had myself. That I think this is information that people would benefit to know from. Any case, I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. If you really thought this was helpful, please do share, because the thing is, again, it's difficult. Again, I'm trying to change your behavior here, by the way, but again, just it's very difficult for something new, particularly today's hyper-saturated information age, to break out. Ministry of Guitar has been breaking out reasonably well. I would love for this podcast to also have that kind of impact. It's kind of I'm doing it. I like doing this a lot, but motivation for this really comes from people watching, right? Otherwise, you're just kind of talking to yourself or talking to a camera. Any case, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.